Alright, it's back. It didn't last 2 months. It got hit again last night. Got the rear door right in here. I may end up skinning this door. It's just a little bit stretched in here, and it's not her fault this time, so I don't want to put body filler in it since it wasn't there before. Got the handle. Front door's going to have to be replaced. Kicked it out up here. I had this tape over the opening here. Did get some water in it last night when they left it. It rained, of course. So I taped this up just a minute ago, or earlier today, so it wouldn't get any more water in it if it rained again, so I could get it inside. Smashed the fender. Pulled the headlight out. Looks like the hood was spared, at least for the most part. I think there's a little bit of a ripple right there. May have to just knock that down with a rubber hammer and some tape on it. I do not want to repaint this hood. I just put it on here, but it did pick it up a little bit over there because it's low right here now. It's not too bad. It's down here. You see there's a little bit of a difference now. It picked it up on that side, kicked this side down. Broke the grill. Broke the brand new emblem out. The emblem's alright, just broke the peg off the back, so I'll have to replace that again. I think this might be usable. I'll just get the black part of it. Broke the paint in here. Broke this part of the bumper. This should probably be saved. I don't know. I mean, it's not really that bad. I may end up repairing it, but depends on how deep these scratches are in it. I'm gonna have to prime several places because it cracked the paint. I don't put flex additive in the clear just because it's super expensive, and typically if you hit a bumper, it does some damage anyway, so you're going to be repairing it. Doesn't matter if it cracks the paint most of the time. Got just about everything. Got the wheel. A lot of this can probably come off here, but it got some of the painted part. I don't know about the suspension. I may actually have to take this thing to a shop and see if the alignment's messed up or not, because I don't have a way of checking that. I might put a level on the wheel or something and see if it's same as the other side, but then again, if the car's not level, then what do, you know? And get the car perfectly level from some reference point, and then see if the plumb of the wheel is the same on the other side, which it ought to be. It looks to me like it might be laid in a little bit. I don't really know. It might just be the fender that I'm looking at, but it does look laid in. Most likely it bent the strut. Now that I'm looking at the hood, I see a wave right down the center of it. See right there, there's a little wave. When I bend it back down, that pressure off of it, it may come on out of there. I really hope it does. I hate to have to put another brand new hood on this thing. Yeah, I got it pretty good. I'm about to try to get the hood up and get the headlight back in it in case I have to take it back while I get ready to take it. I'm not quite ready to take this thing right now. They left it last night for me to make sure it's drivable. At least I don't want to drive it around if it's dangerous. So I'm going to get the hood up and see what I find. Okay, I'm checking the level. I've got the level sitting on the two hood bumpers. Assuming those are a level spot on the car, which they ought to be. It's dead even right there, just where it's sitting here in the garage. I was wondering if the floor was going to be slanted one way or the other, but it seems to be okay. So I'm going to take this smaller level I've got right here. I'm going to try to find 2 points on the wheel that I can bridge across that are fairly straight up from one another. Need to be all the way across. May have to get the big level. I don't know if that's going to hit. Maybe I'll just do the tire with the big level. Let me go grab it. Alright, yeah, this is touching both ends of the tire here. This is not, you know, perfectly precise, but at least give me an idea. The other side should be the same. And we've got a slight camber in. Not very much. If I come back out, get it level, I mean, it's basically zero camber. And I'm straight up and down. You go to the other side, I'm pretty sure it's going to be laid in further than that. That was still inside the lines on the bubble marks. And this one, make sure I'm in the center. There we go. You can see that one's way out. Probably another 3 or 4 degrees in. Like I said, it's not really accurate, but at least I know something's bent without having to take it to an alignment shop just to check it. I know something's wrong. Most likely the strut and maybe the tie rod. I just have to get under there and look. I'll show you what I find. Okay, I took the wheel off and checked all the suspension. It's really hard to tell if anything's bent, but there's something definitely bent. So either the strut or the knuckle or both, and possibly the tie rod. Since I can't tell, I'm just going to have to replace it all. Other than that, that's about it. The ripple came out of the hood as soon as I lifted it up. Okay, I just pulled it in, got the front bumper off, just disconnected the grill at these 4 points along the filler piece. I went ahead and just pulled the bolts out of the fender. I'm going to have to pull the strut out. I think I can see that it's bent, but I'm going to have to get it out and actually put a straight edge along the back of it so that I can prove that to the insurance adjuster. And maybe get some alignment bolts that are a little bit smaller diameter right in here. So in case there's a tiny bend in this, in the spindle, it can still be aligned. I'm trying to not put a spindle in it. Not that I won't, but I don't think there's much in there. I think that that strut would give way before that does. I have had one of these, I think it was 2007, where that got bent. I put a strut in it and the wheel was still laid in. The top of the spindle had been bent out. But I think with the type of hit this got, just going along the side, I think you probably just put it all in the strut. And we could probably still align it with just some smaller bolts from Honda. They make a service bolt set for that. Pull the door off. This is the used one I got for it. The handle is different. The one off the other handle's got a button here. This is off an LX model. This one's got this button. I was hoping I'd get the handle with a button in it that was the same color. I wouldn't have to do anything but maybe color match it. But on this one, I'm going to have to clean it up with some thinner, make sure I can get all the scuffs off. If they all come off, I'll just have to sand it down and paint it. But if not, I'm going to have to put a little primer on it. I was trying to avoid having to do any of that. That handle from Honda is like $250. It's ridiculous. I could get a used one, but I've got to take it out of there anyway and transfer it over. So I'll probably just paint it with the probably with the mirror cap. Well, actually, the mirror cap. See where that is? Mirror cap is not really damaged. It's just got a lot of scuffs and paint transfer. But internally, right here in the hinge where it pivots, this is broken inside it. It won't stay in position. And a little bit of the inside is broken away. I hear something loose in there. That mirror cap comes pre-painted from Honda, and it's only about $20, so I'm not going to waste my time painting that. This will have to be transferred to a mirror. I'll probably just buy the mirror body from Honda. It comes without the two covers, and then I'll probably just buy this one for another $20. And I think this is about close to $200, but I'd rather get a new one than get a used one for $125 and it have rock chips and scratches in it. And I can just put the new cap straight on the mirror, transfer the bottom cap, and be done. Not have to paint any of it. Still need to get the suspension out. I'm probably going to leave the spare tire off the Accord here on this car just so I can roll it around. I don't want to dig. I've got parts in the trunk for this one. I don't want to dig the spare out of this and then have to put it back. So since I've got the spare tire right over there by the light, I'll just throw it on this car and use it here. I don't need it for the Accord anymore. So all I had to do in here really, this door came with the hinges, and they actually cut the wiring harness out of the car, so that's okay on this end, but they cut this one off from the window switch for some reason. I guess they couldn't get it unplugged. They just decided to hack it. So if this had been an EX model door, then that wiring harness could have stayed in there. With it being an LX, I'll probably have to swap it out anyway, but if I'd gotten the right door and they'd cut that, then that would have created another hour's worth of work to swap the harness out. So I'm not too upset about it. Since it's an LX model door, it's probably not the same since it doesn't have the wiring going up to the handle for that button. Didn't come with the mirror, so I've got to get that. That's why I was telling you about that one. If it came with the mirror, though, it would have been awesome. But the bottom hinge was slightly, you couldn't really tell it visually, but I could tell, like right back in there, there's a tiny little bump in the hinge, so I figured that probably just got buckled right there.
So I went ahead and took the hinge off this door and put it on here. I left these when I mounted the door originally that were already there. So this one came with this used door. This is the original one. I don't like to unbolt it from the A-pillar here because there's some sealant back behind there and I don't like to break that seal. So what I'll do with this one, now that I've got everything to fit, I'm going to just pour some epoxy back in there, mask this off, let some epoxy run back around behind that because I've got to mix some up to run through that part anyway over there on the cord. So I'll have that out. I'll puddle some around the hinge and let it seal it. And I'll just leave the door on here. I'm going to have to pull the harness through, redo all that since it's not the right model door, but at least the inside's painted. I don't have to fool with any of that. Because if you have to paint the inside, you got to strip all of this sealing off. You got to sand all these little pieces and all this with Scotch-Brite. It just turns into a nightmare. And I actually got a decent deal on the door. It was only $625. I found another silver one, but it was going to cost me about $1,000 to get it here. So this, you know, for what it is, it's a pretty good deal. Saved me a ton of time on the inside. I don't know if you can see these little door dings running through here. There's one. There's two little tiny ones. And there's one right in the body line, right up above that L sticker. So I think I can build up the primer enough right there. When I fix this, the insurance is only paying to fix this door because they want me to fix it and then blend the color back, which really is, now that I'm thinking about it, really the better way to do it. Even though I'd rather skin the door. The skinning the door will create having to paint in here up to the seal and taking the door off. So if I just fix it, try to minimize where I keep the primer right in here, I've got enough room to blend it back, and that'll keep me from having to blend into the quarter or paint the whole side of the car, which I didn't really want to do because up here I'd have to pull the seals back, put some foam tape, sand in here. I don't really like leaving an edge there if I can help it. I'd rather just leave this alone because none of this got damaged up here. Since it came in from the side, it just pulled the fender away from this. And the front edge had probably some tire rubber or something on the rocker, but I wiped it off with thinner, so there's really no damage at all to the rocker, which runs all the way up. And you can blend it down. You can spot your clear in here, but I would have to clear the whole door. So I'd get clear all over this. Can't really do that. So that'll save me from having to paint the quarter and dropping the bumper down, pulling the taillight out and all that. So, you know, after I thought about it for a while, that really is a better way to do it. Door fit pretty well other than having to change the hinge out. I did have to kind of twist it a little bit back here. I just stuck a block of wood between the door and the post here and pushed the door on it. And then just pushed the top in a little bit. I may change the glass out. We'll see what the glass looks like. There's a mark in the other one that happened in the accident. If I can't get that off, I may leave this glass in. I need to clean it real well and see what it looks like. But probably the regulator, speaker for sure, just in case it's a different sound system. And we'll swap the speaker out with the other one, the original speaker. I may change the lock actuator and the window regulator just because this door is off of 2013. And I'm assuming this was the mileage that was on the vehicle. That's usually what Copart writes on them and maybe where it came from. So I'm going to assume maybe that this window regulator and actuator and all that have that many miles on them, and they are 2 years older, so I'd rather put their 2-year newer parts back in the door. At least the regulator, actuator, and I'm definitely going to do the speaker. Then I can just sell all these parts on eBay, so they'll be listed as soon as I get everything finished and get the car out of here, and I know I don't need them. All right, I think the only things I'm going to have to get from Honda are these. The fender, they call it the fender enclosure. It goes back behind the fender here, takes up the gap between the body and the fender. So you can't see through there. This little pad, this mounts right here. I put the clip back in the hole, but it mounts right in here and just stabilizes the fender, cuts down on some noise. It's compressed. Probably not going to touch the fender anymore, so I'm going to get one of those. It's pretty cheap. Might as well do that. This is the bumper beam that goes under the headlight. And that needs to be replaced. Probably reuse it if I just bend it around, but they're not too expensive anyway. That'll save you some time on that. Here's the wheel. Got the wheel in yesterday in awesome shape. Paid $150 for that. I'd rather get a used one than a reconditioned one because I don't know what's happened to a reconditioned one before it got reconditioned. So for safety, I'm going to put on a used wheel. New one from Honda is about $300, I believe. I'm going to get 2 of those service bolts for the alignment. That way, when the shop does the alignment, they'll have them in case they need them, and I won't have to hold them up. I'm going to get a strut. I know that something's been in here, and it's most likely the strut. So I'll get it out and check it. But for right now, I got to leave it where I can move it around. But I'll probably check that at some point. Put it back. Maybe have to put that one back in it just to be able to move it around. I'm going to have to change this lock cylinder out. This is the wrong key, obviously, so I'm going to take the one from the original door and swap out the lock cylinder so the key will work. She probably never uses the key, but the one time she'll need to in the future, then it won't work if I leave it alone. So, got to do that. I think that's going to be about it. The new wheel came with a center cap, so I got that to sell too. So once I get done with the car and give it back to him, I'll sell a bunch of these parts that I won't need out of that door and that center cap. But right now, I'm just going to place my Honda order. That's why I got it torn down now, just to see what all I got to get from Honda, and they'll actually deliver out here. So I'm going to set that up. Right now, it's December 23rd, and they won't deliver around Christmas, so I'm going to get the order in place today, and that way they'll bring it out here by the end of next week, and I should have it. Okay, I've got pretty much everything swapped over that I'm going to swap. The door handle is different. See if I can find it. This door handle has a black lock and a black base. It came with the door, so I had to swap that over. I just swapped it here at this end of the linkage and left all that with the original actuator that was in the door. I was going to swap actuators and got to looking at the one that was in the door. This is the original 2015, and right in there where that cross is right there, that's where the lock. Let me grab the lock. This is the this is the one that came. This is the one that's damaged from the accident. That end of the cross fits down in there and turns the lock from the outside of the door. See, the outside edge of this is chewed up. So I'm going to have to swap this whole assembly. It just pops down into this cap. Just swap this piece over to the good cap. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the other cap that came with the door just so everything matches. But what happened was when it pushed it in, when it pushed the door in, it punched that through the actuator. So this actuator shot. Just pushed it through the back. I looked up the part numbers for 13LX versus a 15EX. And it's the same exact actuator, so I tested that one. Lock works fine. So I've got these 2 good cables in case I break one later. I shouldn't, but I might. Never know. So I'm going to keep all this stuff till I'm done. Swapped over. Window regulator. I tested the other one out. Works fine, so I'm going to sell it. So I've got the 2015 window motor door handle, 2013 door lock actuator that came with the door. Tested out the 2013 speaker. Those aren't worth much, but I'll try to sell it if I can get anything out of it. I'm going to put the 2015 speaker in later. I'm going to leave myself an access hole here in case I drop one or more of the the mirror nuts, which does happen. No way I want to take it back out. I put the 2015 door check strap in here because these don't tend to last very long, so I put theirs back in it. The 2013 one I'll just hang on to in case I need it for a salvage car or something. It's still good, but I wanted to put the newer one in here for sure. I've got this is the original wiring harness. I've got everything clipped in except this one right here. That goes in over the water shield. So once I get the shield in here, I'll clip this one into it right there so that I've got it on top of it. I think that's about it. This is original 2013 glass, quarter glass. This glass is fine, no reason to change it out. Did find a couple of dents in this door. There's one back here. I'm working these out. I'm trying to work them out with PDR. Right now, there was one there. I'm still going to have to put a little primer over these spots, but I've got at least the dent out. I don't have to put any filler. So I'm going to try to work this one out. You can barely see it. It's tiny, tiny. And these two I showed you earlier. I found a rock nick there, rock nick down there. Since I've got to put primer on the door, I'm just going to go ahead and fix all these that I can find. That was the outward dent there. I found a mirror nut down in here. I guess it dropped in here and somehow got pushed against and pushed a dent out right there. But I'm just going to tap it down flat and prime it. There's a tiny, tiny dent right there. I'll try to work that out with PDR. I think I can do that too. Could probably get that out just with primer, but I'm going to push it out to where it won't take as much primer to do. Got this harness reconnected in here, pushed back in, clipped into the body, everything's sealed. So the door is basically done, almost like nothing happened. I just got to paint it, put the parts back on it, waiting on the Honda order to get here. It was supposed to be here today. Didn't make it, so I'm going to call them. They should bring it out in the morning. I'm going to start on this part of the door. Make sure I can open this door. All right. This part of the door is slightly pushed in. Right here you can see how it's pushed in. I don't know that if it's in the frame or if it's just in the skin. I think it's just in the skin. It's really stiff back there, so I'm going to have to put some pins right up next to this corner and just pull this corner out a little bit. This door is really good shape except for just this right here. I'm going to go ahead and get some lacquer thinner and wipe all this paint transfer off and kind of see what I'm really working with. The damage only runs back to really about right there, and then it just straightens back out. So I'll pull these two dents out and try to contain my bodywork right in here, and then the primer work maybe a third across the door if I can help it, as little as possible. Then I'll just end up blending, getting coverage over the primer as I blend back. Luckily the value shade for this color is a 4, and that's what my primer is going to be. So I shouldn't have a whole lot of trouble covering that up. Another good thing about buying a used door is you get all this trim, all those internals, which is great because I needed that actuator. And turns out this mount down here was broken on off the 2013 door. This right here was broken. So I've got the 2015 I can use. A lot of times it's vice versa. I can use what was on the door, on what was broken on the other. This door handle gasket was damaged, and I've got it on the new one. The used door came with that. Came with this piece that I needed. I've got to repair this outer one because this has got a button in it. So now I've got to take this black trim piece off the back. I think there's some screws. There's a screw there. Should be able to take the screw out and get this black part here off. And we got to pull the switch out of this thing so I can paint it. And also this piece here, right in here where the lock mounts, was broken off on the original 2015 handle bracket. So I'm going to reuse the 13 there. So that's another advantage of buying a used door. You get all that extra stuff there that you'd have to piece together, and it would just cost you way too much to get a new door and all those pieces when it's all in there already. And I don't have to paint the inside. So once I mount it to the car and I get it to fit, I'm done. I don't have to pull it back off to do the inside. So I just plugged in the harness. Door can stay. I'll double check that I've got all the bolts tight in the front on each end of the hinge. And get to working some of these dents out. It's pretty late at night. I can't do the grinding and body work on this door yet, but I'm going to try to work these little dents out with PDR, enough to prime over them. Once I get done with that, I'm going to move over here to the bumper. I've already cleaned the paint transfer off, but there is a little bit of a groove right in there in the bumper and the plastic. And everywhere the paint's cracked, I'm going to have to feather it back, which this would all get feathered back anyway. There's one crack up here. Really hard to see. There's a crack. There's a crack in here. If I can find it. Anyway, there's a crack there. Some of this is cracked in here where it's flexed. You can see those cracks. So So I got a priming area just right in there, and then this whole area over here. And that'll have that taken care of. We do have to fix this in here, and that's going to be this little tab. Got to fix that little mounting tab. And for the most part, this is done as far as the major part of the bodywork on the door, but the major part of the repair, having the door replaced, is done. Next thing I'm going to do is do that bodywork. That way, when I go to prime this, I can prime those spots, and I'll also prime that all at the same time. And while that primer's drying, I'll do all the rest of my prep work. I'll get the rest of the door prepped for paint, get the fender prepped, and get the bumper stripped down where I can just get it ready to blend on the other side of it. I'll be back when I get ready to do some body work. Alright, I'm getting ready to do the body work. All that noise in the background is my heater. Got to warm the garage up a little bit. I may have to bring it over here and actually aim it at the door when I get ready to start doing the body work and primer. But the hash marked area I've got here is where I'm going to take the paint off. And that out there is where the actual damage is, but some of this will come out when I pull this. So I'm going to go ahead and take the paint off in here and start pulling some studs. Main thing you got to do first is get the door out, even with the front door. So right in here and right in here I've got to come out, then I can work the rest of it out. I thought I might enter a new disc. I'm going to have to grab one. Alright, I'll be back with some pins. I'm going to get some pins on those low spots on the edges, those two spots there. And I'm going to pull a little bit, then I'll have to take my blankets back off so I can shut the door and see how far out I'm going, if I got to go any further. So once I get some pins on, start pulling a little bit. I know I got to come some. I'll pull just a little bit out, then I'll shut the door and see where I am, but I'll have to leave all this off. I just put that up there for the grinding. I'm going to put 3 or 4 in that spot at the top. Work on that first and then go down to the bottom. I'll have to make sure I spray a good bit of cavity wax inside the door back there to get this coated once I'm done with the paint job. I'm going to try to get 5 pins in here and try to pull on 2 or 3 at a time. Situated and start pulling. Be right back. I'm gonna start pulling. I'm gonna try to either use this stiff area of the front door or the back door, but I've got to be able to pull this direction so I can get more than one pin at a time. I'm gonna grab the bottom two, then the top two, and then the second and third one, then the second and third from the top, and work my way to the center that way. Might have to do this with the slide hammer because I don't want to dent anything around here, and right here on this edge is really stiff, so I may have to just pull it with the slide hammer and then do the rest of the areas in here with this. Pretty close. Still going to have a little bit of build up of filler on the end in here, just because there's no way to pull in that exact corner and get it out all at once. Then you check this area, make sure I didn't do any damage to it. So it looks good. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom and start working the dents out. Alright, that inside edge right in here has got just a little bit of a bump in it from the door going in. So I'm going to knock that back in, take the dolly, since I don't want to damage this inside edge back here. I'm going to set the dolly in here right up against where I can get it to rock. That's that high spot in there. And I'm going to knock it in with this. Till I get it flat. Looking down this way, I can see the outward protrusion. It looks pretty good. I'll keep going with the bottom part. Alright, I've done all the pulling I can do without overstretching it. I don't want to go past. If I pull these past where the door needs to be, then I'll just have to knock those spots back down. Some of them I'll have to do anyway. But I've got it to where it's almost there. But I don't want to have to build up any filler to make it match. I think with as hard as that door got hit, it probably bent the door frame just a little bit. So I'm just going to tap on it with the slide hammer from the inside, just in those two places, and try to get it out flush with this door, so I don't have to put any more filler than necessary. I've got 5 layers of tape in here, and then a piece of sheet metal about 4 inches long, and they're kind of bent to the contour, and it's taped in there too to hold it in place. Try not to damage the inside of the door. I'm just going to pop on this a little bit. Just to get it out enough to where it's flush with the front door. You have to go slow with it. All right, maybe one more of those and I'll have it. I'm going to do one or two at the bottom. Be back when I got it straight. I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. It's just about the same all the way down. This right here, I can't get out any further or I'll mess this up. It'll be too far. So if it's low at all, I'm just going to have to build up just ever so slight amount of fiberglass, but we'll see, maybe not. I'm going to go ahead and put some more studs in all these low areas here and get all that out. And then I'll be able to put some fiberglass on it. I got that sitting inside warming up. Still low right in there, just a hair. A little bit right in there. I don't want to overdo it though. I can always put a little bit of filler there. I don't want to stretch it too far though. It's going to have filler in it anyway. No matter what. I'd rather put new skin on it, but it's just not worth it. And I'd end up painting the whole side of the car. For no real reason. That the insurance is only paying for this. This in here's got to come out. Right in there. This through here is pretty much okay. We'll work on that. Be back just a minute. Alright, unless I find some more spots that are low after I cut these off, this is all it was going to take. Mainly the two edges there. It looks like I was able to do, well, four extra studs here to get these areas up. These three here, get those two low spots out. I ran the straight edge through here, and I don't have more than maybe a ½ millimeter gap at the most anywhere along that direction. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these off, grind it smooth again and feel it. And if I have to put any more, I will, but I don't think I'll have to. Main issue is just going to be getting enough fiberglass over this in case I have to build that corner up just ever so slightly. I think I've got pretty much all the outer sheet right there fixed. Alright, right now I'm going to grind down where my studs were. I just clipped them off with wire cutters. You can twist them off, but half the time they'll rip a hole in the sheet metal. So I just started cutting them off all the time and then just come back and grinded them. I'm going to skip around so I don't overheat one spot. As soon as that's back smooth, I'll probably have to knock some of these on the edges back down, get the high spots out. Then I'll clean up my edge on my paint with 80 grit and I'll come back with fiberglass filler. A little bit more, I'll be back when I get ready for some filler. Alright, this is 80 grit on DA. We'll take the paint off around where I've got the grinder marks, so that needs to be feathered out. I'm going to go a little further than where I'm going to put the filler, but I'm going to need to open it up enough to be able to get the other regular body filler out just on metal. So I'll go out and get ready for that. I'll just put fiberglass in this area, and I'll put the other filler out a little further. going to continue pulling that edge out, opening that up. And I'll have some fiberglass filler in just a second. I'm trying to stay within that tape right in here. It's just kind of my guide to where I know I don't need it past. Pull it in real tight. Make sure it gets in all the grooves. Start building it up. Most of this will come back off. It'll look like a lot up front, but it'll come off in a minute. I'll have to pull that tape out while it's still wet. Pretty cold in here. It's probably not even 60 in here, so I got a pretty good work time with it, even though it's been sitting inside. Get it as smooth as possible. That's down on my sanding time. Gonna build up a little bit on this edge. If I don't need it, I can always just take it back off. You gotta put some out there. I think that's good for now. Fill in one little spot right there at the front end. I don't really want to spread that well, being cold. Alright, that's good enough for now. I'll sand all that off with a block. I'll be back for that in a minute.